Ecstatic, a team absolutely stacked with players you've never heard of. But the man at the helm of this roster is, according to some, the best IGL in history. He has built a team that plays an incredibly unique style and makes the most of its unheralded lineup. They have been one of the most consistently successful Tier 2 teams for the past 6 months, climbing the rankings and making a whole lot of people take notice. In order to figure out exactly how Birdfromsky has built this team and the things that make him especially so unique, my squire Quacke and I have taken a deep dive into the ancient demos of Ecstatic from the FunSpark Ulti finals. It was during these games that Birdfromsky's genius was truly brought into the spotlight. If you've ever watched Ecstatic's ancient CT side, there is one commonality you will find in basically every round. They will fight endlessly for the Jag alley control, which, by the way, is the most important alleyway in all of Counter-Strike. It all starts with a standard door smoke. The smoke is thrown by the player who spawns here. This is the lineup in case you want to see it, and it's useful to get this smoke down as it denies the Ts the ability to hold this sort of ramp from a distance. It is accompanied by a Molotov at the bottom of the ramp, and another molly goes into the middle of the Jag alley. The final piece to this shitstorm of a puzzle is the aggressive stances taken by Birdfromsky and Fascia. The first presence the T-side feels is BFS, pushing up Jag and checking for steps. If he hears them, he spams the walls like a maniac, knowing all the cheeky spots through which to get damage. If the Ts haven't pushed, he pushes. Once Birdfromsky has attack from Jag, Fascia comes into play. The Dutchman will casually saunter down the B ramp almost every round like it's some dimly lit Amsterdam alleyway. No matter what happens around Jag, you'll find him making this move. When Birdfromsky does engage the Ts, Fascia will always find the right timing to then aggress and pick up the frag. And even when there is no Birdfromsky contact, Fascia still makes this play, which often catches out the Ts if they are sat awaiting that Jag aggression. The other primary source for opening kills on the CT side is Wolfie and the mid-hold. Now, Wolfie is the AWPer of this team, and whilst his stats don't immediately jump off the page as nuts, he is a very consistent performer for Ecstatic. Sure, he isn't banging out massive multi-kill after massive multi-kill, but he does what's required to allow the team's playstyle to be effective. On the CT side of Ancient, his AWP in mid comes into play often, either trying to find opening picks or as part of a larger team effort to recapture mid late in the round. Ecstatic's T-side has many of the same priorities. Jag alley must be controlled, with Fascia almost always finding his way up to the top of the alley using the classic dodge, duck, dip, dive and dodge technique to make it through all the utility. If there's a fight presented, Fascia will take it. Otherwise, he'll take the space, and Birdfromsky can sit back with a huge grin on his face as he knows he has all the map control he wants. When the T default pack goes mid, it can often be quite contact heavy, grouping up and making their way up the left side of the channel quite slowly. Here's a round where everything goes perfectly, just to paint the picture. Fascia gets the top Jag alley control, the pack advance up to Donut and begin to clear that out. BFS takes initial contact around the left side, Wolfie holds the right side, and Manx is here to trade. BFS actually wins the duel, which is an added bonus, because if he goes down, that's why the players are here to trade him. He's not really expected to win a lot of these fights. Now, as BFS wins the duel, Wolfie swings out to hold the temple re-peek, a player does peek, and gets picked, leading to a free bomb site for Ecstatic. As a cherry on top of this bloodbath of an ice cream sundae, Fascia picks up the rotator in mid, ending the round. Opening kills secured, it's time for the fun part. If it wasn't for this side of Ecstatic's gameplay, we wouldn't be here. The first and the most simple of their gambles comes off the back of the opening frag. The moment Fascia or Falcon from afar get that initial kill, they retreat and consolidate, playing with a large number of players on or around the B bomb site. This allows them to use their elite trading to convert rounds comfortably, rather than risking a round loss. They'll even give up the A bomb site entirely, preferring to maintain the numerical advantage. Here we see a shake-up of the opening ideas as Wolfie goes aggressive down mid and takes control of the Jag alley from the top. This presence and the information it garners allows Fascia to cheat over to A. Wolfie stays at the top of Jag until needed, as knowing that both B and mid are clear is vital info. Now, Wolfie isn't watching mid, but the Ts are very unlikely to go into it silent, knowing that Wolfie is almost always posted up at the top of middle or in donut with an AWP, so the risk of trying to get in there quietly very rarely yields any reward. This means this positioning is rarely countered by some shift-walking lurker. Remember, information does win rounds in Counter-Strike. Not as many as bullets, but still quite a large number. Something that enables a lot of the B-side stacks is the passive position of Manx towards A. Playing your anchor this passively is a commitment to retaking the A-bomb site. Now, retaking is just like executing backwards, so Ecstatic are perfectly happy to go for retakes on this wide open bomb site. The game plan that this skybound genius has put into place emphasizes one key point: proper trading wins games. Examine this retake. Ecstatic have the numerical advantage, but they have to retake the A-bomb site completely devoid of info. The feathered one gives himself up by jumping into CT spawn, allowing his team to pick up the trade on the player lurking there. Now you see, it's okay if your players maybe aren't Nico and simple. If you give them such easy fights as this, they are almost guaranteed to win them. Now that hidden player was found, it's a 3v2 and the players are able to convert it quite easily, again trading with great efficiency. The first gamble is a pretty simple one. This A rush that Ecstatic pull out is an economy read. Literally, this exact play comes out almost exclusively against half buys or saves, and they read into these quite accurately. Another impressive call that Flappy Big Brains made on this map was off the back of a challenge to his T-side default. K23 show their hand early, pushing down the B ramp and killing Fashion, a position that makes it very obvious they have been incredibly committal to a B fight. Our protagonist takes his squad immediately through mid, which isn't being actively challenged, and through the donut to A. It's swift, and through good trading are actually able to make a winnable round out of nothing. When you look at Ecstatic's games closely, you'll see this kind of protocol play out constantly. They trade with the greatest efficiency of any team, and at the centre of it stands a truly unique player. Now here's a Swedish man using stats to show off another aspect, another facet of what makes Ful fra Himlen so unique and such a one-of-a-kind player.
Thank you, T. I'm Quacke, also known as the Numbers Man, and the duck T keeps in his basement. Looking at Birdfromsky's stats on the surface, he looks fairly mediocre, with an HLTV rating of 1.02 and stats in pretty much every other category any normal person would consider okay at best. However, once you dig a bit deeper, the mystery of the bird from the heavens starts to unravel. To get a high HLTV rating, a good first step is to make sure you get a decent amount of kills. But apparently, there are also other approaches. Across 2021, Birdfromsky holds the distinction of being the player with the lowest KD ratio while still having a positive overall rating. Posting a KD ratio of 0.88 and a difference of a negative 1006 in 446 maps, he still ended on a bang average 1.00 rating. This stat line he so far seems to carry over into the new year. In 2022, he is once again the king of impact without frags. It's evident from these stats, the big bird makes sure each of his frags really count. So where does he find this rating without fragging? On Ancient, Birdfromsky's biggest strength seems to lie in his T-side, or CT side. It's rare this man has two good halves in a map. Very often he goes huge on one side, then halftime comes, and he's like a new person. There seems to be no rhyme or reason as to which side he's good at. Sometimes he's got a good T side, sometimes a good CT side, but rarely both. In any case, in his T side versus K23, our feathered friend posted an ADR of 116 at a scoreline of 13-8. This net him a T side rating of 1.78. On top of this, he also posted a cast percentage at 93.3%, which in layman terms means that there was only a single round out of the 15 where he didn't get a kill, an assist, survived, or traded. The last part of that acronym is the interesting part. Trades really are the name of the game for Ecstatic. While their initial opening fights will be high risk, high reward, the late round is all about making sure every death results in a 1-for-1 trade at worst. His notorious smoke and wall spams net him a significant chunk of damage in pretty much every single round, and a good chunk of his small amount of frags are actually multi-kills. Does all this add up to how he can have such a high rating despite having low frags? No, it really doesn't. The workings of the Rating 2.0 system are a mystery, and sometimes seems to look more favorably upon some players than others. However, in all likelihood, Birdfromsky gains his stat line from his high cast. Let's face it, the man can't aim. I've seen matchmaking players who have snappier headshots. However, he certainly has mastered every single other part of this beautiful game. He really is one of the brainiest players I've seen in a while. With a minimalist, non-flashy playstyle, the name of the game is to turn very little into something very big. The bird from the skies may at first look like an ugly duckling, but take a closer look and he'll actually turn out to be a swan.
Thank you, Quack, for those stats. And yeah, you really see it. It's not only the way he organises his team, the way he gets his team to play, it's also Birdfromsky himself is just this weird, almost anomaly that we don't really see very often. Now, if you look deeper into the Tier 2 scene, you'll see other teams that have not necessarily copied or even adapted Birdfromsky's game plan, but use a very similar concept of getting the most out of every gun round, getting the most out of every player, by playing the basics and playing these slightly advantageous ways to make the most out of a team that lacks the star power, lacks the fragging of some of the other tier 2 teams or even some of the tier 1 sides. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like this, subscribe. I upload fairly regularly. Leave a like if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment telling me your thoughts on Birdfromsky and if his radar is as powerful as they say. Yeah, that's all for this one. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Wow, that's fucking creepy. I'm gonna be watching back that later. Here's another shot that you might use for something. Quacke, the number 15.